Welcome one, welcome all to another Route Pros vlog. I am James Peuster. Today, I'm going to spend a little time with one of the best drivers, Brian Sternheim. Brian is one of the drivers that has delivered the most clothes in 1 year than any other driver that I've known. But COVID is here. I'm in New Rochelle, New York. New Rochelle, one of the hotbeds of all of the COVID cases early on. But they're persevering and they're moving forward. Today, Brian's going to share some of his tips and tricks on how to get customers and keep customers during this difficult time. We're going to learn a lot today, guys, so make sure you tune in if you're a manager, owner, or driver. Stay tuned. You know, when COVID hit, I don't think dry cleaners originally thought this was going to be this bad. Now we're seeing several cleaners close. We're seeing several cleaners cutting hours and condensing their production time. Routes has still been a major focus. And for those that are doing it right, you guys are still hanging on, doing pretty good. In fact, a lot of you guys have already added an additional van due to all the circumstances. Here at M&C Cleaners, nothing is different. They're doing wash dry fold. They're promoting it heavily, which you should. A lot of you guys have been doing it and doing a great job with it. You have condensed your hours like everybody else has, and that's great. But one thing that you can't do is neglect route and route retention. As Brian here gets his route ready, and I'm not going to really share too much with numbers, Brian and I are going to share with you some of the things you can do as a driver that can not only keep your route going, can also get it growing. So I'm here with Selly of M&C Cleaners, and he's even got Sell in his name, but what do you think of Brian? Does he scare you?
A little bit, sometimes.
He's got that intense look, doesn't he? Look at him. I'm a little frightened too. I got to spend 8 hours with this guy. Welcome to the vlog. James Peuster with Brian Sternheim. Brian, you and I have been together a few times, but you've been doing routes for a long time. How long have you been doing routes?
About 25 years.
Now, you know, you deliver a lot of clothes, so you better keep going. But during this COVID time, what's been your #1 lesson learned?
To concentrate heavily on customer service, to keep, so this way you keep them engaged in, and, you know, just to keep them so they know that you're still out there and you're here to make their lives easier and keep a little normalcy in their lives.
You know, Brian is delivering in a pretty nice area here. You're going to see some big rocks and nice houses over here. Brian's been doing this, like I said, 25 years. He's not a man of a lot of words, but when he's out in the field, he nails it. So far as we've kind of jumped in midstream of his route, I wanted him to get caught up. You know, he's been focusing on sales. You'll see that a little bit, focusing on retention. Brian, you've delivered a lot of clothes in your lifetime. It would be kind of fun to guess how many clothes you've actually probably delivered in the history of 25 years of doing it. But real quick, let me just ask you this. I know you don't like being put on the spot, but I'm going to put you on the spot. You know, why do you like this job? Why do you keep doing this after 25 years?
The people, just the different people you meet, the people, you know, just different families from different backgrounds and you know, different needs, and you sort of watch them. You know, I've seen kids from the time they were born to the time they graduate college. You know, some families, and it's just, you become part of their family when you know, because you're the face that they see twice a week, and they know that, you're there to help them, even if it's a simple hi, how you doing, or if they had something happen and they need help with, just a kind word, a smile sometimes will go a long way.
Yeah, and Brian is really good at that. And this is, I think, the second or third ride along I've done with him. And one of the things I see is he knows where they work, he knows their family, he knows their neighbors, he knows the cleaner the neighbors go to. You'll see here a little bit later with some of the video I've taken earlier today. It's going to be out of sequence, but you'll see how engaging he's been with some of his customers. So, Brian, I know you got a delivery pickup. We'll get back to you.
Good.
As Brian and I trek through, what county are we in right now? Okay, so we're up here in New York, and Brian, when it comes to the selling aspect, you've built nearly $1 million route before. What do you prefer? Do you prefer selling while you're doing the route, or do you prefer like going out on Wednesday nights or Wednesdays and Saturdays? What do you prefer most?
Definitely during the route, because you're focused on your route, of course, but at the same time your senses are sharpened to see things that maybe you won't see if you're just concentrating on one thing. And Wednesday and Saturday are good days, but to just focus on 2 days a week, opportunity is available 7 days a week, not just 2.
Nice. And the thing that I would think, as I nearly drop it, the thing that I would think for a lot of people, you've got the safety net of the van. You're out there, you're doing your route, and what you'll notice if you see drivers that do what we call cherry picks or sell while they're doing the route becomes more efficient. You can service more customers because you're going around, you're driving. Also, it's a little bit safer too. Obviously if you're going around just in sales mode, then the tendency might be, oh, you're pushing the sales. But, you've got the safety net of rejection, you've got the van going on. And Brian, obviously you've built a pretty big route. I almost plural the word route. Obviously your route's pretty efficient. You're getting around, going to a lot of houses, and you make a lot of personalized contact too. But, I guess if you could give a driver was to call you and say, hey, what advice do you have while you're doing the route and sales? What would that advice be? Just
be yourself and just do what you do, and it will come out naturally. If you're ringing doorbell and you start the conversation with one person, you're going to push that off to the next person, and the next person could be a potential new customer.
Yeah, and I think what's really cool about this is Brian has done this for 25 years, like we said earlier. So we're going to take a look at a little bit of his examples while he's in the field, and we'll let you know how he does. So even though COVID is still rampant, Brian is up there, see if we can see it, making a sales attempt. And so, again, also, this puppy's not wearing a mask. Looks like he's waiting for a dog bone. But anyway, Brian's up there making a sales attempt. It's a good time to try to still make sales, guys. It's no excuse here. One of the things that we're hearing is that people don't want to talk to people. We heard that before COVID, but now the time is now to go out there and get customers. That dog that I pointed to, Brian is actually given dog bones to. They're actually not a customer. He knows all about them. He knows that they use another cleaner and they're very loyal to the cleaner they go to, but Brian is still loyal to them, to the dog. He gives the dog a dog bone every time. So Brian, you gave that dog a bone even though it's not a customer. Why are you doing that?
Hopefully that particular customer I marketed to quite a bit, and she's loyal to her cleaner. So I'm hoping that her cleaner does something or doesn't offer something that we offer, and I can pick her up. So it's a sort of a, I don't know the word for it. I would say preventive maintenance, but that's not the right word. I don't know. What would be the word?
The word would be planting seeds.
Going fishing. Going fishing,
yeah, even though the fish isn't biting. But again, you never know. Brian services the customer right across the street, and that's why you need to be ahead of your competition. That's why we're not a fan of cutting back on days or on demand or anything like that. If you can service the customer better than what their current dry cleaner is doing, you got a better chance of getting them. we press on. One thing that makes Brian so successful is he still does not have afraid to follow up, as he's right now making a sales attempt. You can see he's following up. He made an attempt 3 weeks ago, and he's making a friendly conversation with this individual. And so you can kind of tell he's maybe talking to him about, you know, going back and seeing if he's got a bag. So, you know, when you're doing sales, follow-up is the key. Now, Brian's wearing his mask. He's got his sign-up card in his back pocket. He's petting the dog, so he's winning the dog over. So again, it's real important that you stay engaged with even prospects, even during this COVID time. So reading the body language, he's bringing out the wife and the housekeeper. So again, a little play-by-play here is telling you that he's past 30 seconds on the presentation. That's a good sign. So again, as he's talking to the spouse, we'll get an idea of what happens when Brian gets done or gets back in the van. So Brian didn't quite get his bag. He was talking to the husband who was talking to the wife. Brian, though, the amazing thing is who they're using or who they're getting ready to use, because we saw a maroon bag, first of all, only services once a week. Second of all, has an unmarked bag. Third of all, they didn't even know the name of the cleaner. So what do you think? You're going to follow up with them again, or what are you going to do?
Definitely follow up with them again, and I would in about a week and a half to see how things are going. And you know, maybe since they don't know their cleaner and it's a Tuesday and I stop by, maybe they'll give me the bag thinking I'm the cleaner, and I'll get their information and get us on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, the key right now, because it's all about market share and margins, is be a step ahead above the customer, your competition. Whether it's a, you know, they have unmarked bags, they only do it once a week. So again, stick to your turnaround time of twice a week. It will make a difference. One thing that makes Brian one of the best, I'm standing in front of the store, is that during COVID, Brian made several phone calls to customers, and in about a 3 to 3.5 week period, Brian converted 140 customers to the route. That may be a record for one individual. So for those that are worried about personal touch, don't forget that consumers worry about personal time, and now especially social distancing. So again, if you got a stud like Brian, he can convert 140 customers to the route in a short time. It can be done. It has been done. And he's still one of the best. Look at him. Just look at him. One thing about Brian, he's pretty humble. Sometimes he can be pretty vocal in certain circumstances, but when he's put on the spot, you know, he just gets the job done. 25 years of doing it, 25 years of still pounding the pavement, no matter what obstacles thrown at him, weather, COVID, or whatnot. The bottom line is this: the thing you can learn the most from riding with Brian or seeing what he does is that there's no excuse in his world. He's not afraid to make attempts. He's not afraid to follow up, and he stays engaged with prospects and with his customers both. He can tell you a lot about the housekeepers. He was giving me a play-by-play early on of every single pickup and delivery that he had. And he's asked me a lot of good questions on this visit. It's been very helpful for him and very educational for me, because again, when I ride with drivers that are new, or when Mark or Mike does, a lot of times we're doing all the questions and talking and all this. Even as a veteran, even a seasoned vet, Brian still has asked me over 40 questions on this trip. We'll see how he does next year and see if he can get that magical number. So Brian just informed me that he's actually been doing this for 29 years. He's actually started working for dry cleaners when he was 9 with his parents, but he's been a driver since 1991. So here's my 4 takeaways, my 4 lessons learned for you, no matter what role you play, from Brian. Number 1, build the route while you're doing the route. This is one of the best things that he shows anybody. When you ride with this route, you'll see that he's got neighbors, he's got customers all over the place. He knows everybody. Like you said earlier, he knows their families. Even if it's a prospect, he knows what their backstory is, where they work, and maybe the cleaner they use. Number 2, learn more to earn more. He's always learning. He's always asking questions. He may not always agree with what we have to say, but he does put them in play. Thus, his route continues to grow. Number 3, stay positive. This guy, you know what? He's pretty intense sometimes, but when it comes to customers and prospects, he stays positive. He's done this long enough to know that rejection is part of the process. Customers quitting is part of the process. Even during this COVID time, he has stayed positive through it, stayed engaged with his customers. And finally, number 4, Don't stop selling. This guy, even though New Rochelle, like I said, has been kind of one of those target areas where we should kind of be careful in social distancing, Brian made several sales attempts. In fact, he made a follow-up visit where he got a sign up this Saturday, and he was checking on them as well. So I hope you enjoyed this very fun and informative vlog with Brian Sternheim. Good luck and happy selling.